Have you ever noticed how some of the most spiritually powerful believers can wake up feeling spiritually starved, drained before the day even begins? Like they're running on fumes and no one even knows it? You roll out of bed, eyes barely open, but the weight of your day is already pressing on your shoulders, deadlines, doubts, distractions, and somewhere between the morning coffee and the mental chaos, you forget that heaven is waiting for you to speak, not with elaborate prayers, not with rehearsed religion, but with 5 simple, yet spiritually atomic words. The Holy Spirit isn't looking for a performance, He's looking for an invitation. And yet, the truth is shocking. Most Christians never say the 5 words that open the floodgates of divine power. You've probably read about the Holy Spirit as comforter, advocate, helper, but how often do you actually talk to Him? Personally, intimately? Romans chapter 8 verse 26 says the Spirit intercedes for us with groans too deep for words. But some of us haven't even whispered to Him all week. And here's the warning: when you neglect the Spirit, you're not just missing guidance, you're missing transformation. There are 5 phrases that carry supernatural weight. 5 phrases the Holy Spirit leans in to hear, but they've been buried beneath Christian busyness, pride, and spiritual apathy. The first one is, "I trust in you, Lord." Say it out loud. Let it break through the static of self-reliance. You've been carrying burdens God never asked you to carry. You've been trying to control what only He can handle. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6 wasn't a suggestion, it was a survival plan. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and stop leaning on your own limited understanding. When you say, "I trust in you, Lord," you are choosing to rest in divine wisdom instead of being crushed by human logic. And trust is not a passive thing. It's warfare. It's defiance against fear. It's putting down the sword of self-defense and lifting up the shield of faith. Then there's the phrase, "I need you, Holy Spirit," and this one slices straight through the pride that keeps believers bound. Because needing the Spirit isn't a weakness, it's the recognition of where true strength comes from. Jesus didn't say, "Try harder." He said, "I will send you another helper." John chapter 14 verse 16. That means He expected you to need help. But here's the hidden struggle. Many believers live as if salvation came from Jesus, but sanctification depends on their own hustle. It doesn't. You were never meant to walk in purity, peace, or purpose without the power of the Spirit. Galatians chapter 3 verse 3 asks, "Having begun by the Spirit, are you now being perfected by the flesh?" That question should haunt every self-made Christian. Because without the Spirit, your ministry is empty, your thoughts are chaotic, and your efforts will burn out. But the moment you say, "I need you, Holy Spirit," heaven leans in. You're aligning with supernatural strength. You're surrendering the illusion of control. You're stepping out of survival mode and into Spirit-led living. And then comes the third word, so often overlooked, yet thunderously powerful: thank you, Holy Spirit. Gratitude isn't a courtesy, it's a spiritual weapon. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 18 says, "Give thanks in all circumstances," because thankfulness acknowledges the presence of God in every moment, even the messy ones. When you say, "Thank you, Holy Spirit," you're training your spirit to recognize glory in the ordinary. You're not waiting for the miracle. You're thanking Him for the presence that sustains you before the miracle even comes. And in that, the atmosphere shifts, chains break, darkness flees, because where there is gratitude, there is presence, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 17. But this next one, it pierces deeper than all the rest. Forgive me, Holy Spirit, not just, "Forgive me, God," but, "Holy Spirit, forgive me," because you haven't just broken rules. You've grieved a person. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 30 warns us not to grieve the Holy Spirit of God by whom we were sealed. Do you know how many Christians go months carrying hidden sin, spiritual compromise, secret lust, unspoken bitterness, and never once confess directly to the Spirit within them? They walk around heavy, distant, numbed out, wondering why their prayers bounce back like silence. It's because they're avoiding the very one who brings conviction and cleansing. When you say, "Forgive me, Holy Spirit," you're not groveling. You're opening the vault of your soul to be healed from the inside out. You're acknowledging that you need more than behavior modification. You need heart transformation. And that prayer doesn't just lead to forgiveness, it leads to restoration. And finally, the fifth word. The word that unlocks every promise of God. Help me to obey you. Because obedience isn't a feeling, it's a daily decision. And without the Spirit, it's impossible. John chapter 14 verse 15 says, "If you love me, keep my commands." But the truth is, you can't even obey a single command of Jesus without supernatural help. Try forgiving someone who betrayed you without the Spirit. Try turning the other cheek without the Spirit. Try laying down your own dreams to follow His will, without the Spirit. You will fail every time. But when you say, "Help me to obey you," Holy Spirit, you're no longer relying on grit, you're leaning into grace. You're asking the very one who authored the law to empower your love. You're positioning yourself for victory in the face of temptation, boldness in the face of fear, and holiness in a world that mocks it. These 5 words, 5 spiritual lifelines, can rewire your entire life if you dare to speak them. But most believers won't. They'll keep pushing through their routines. They'll read devotionals without direction, pray without power, live without joy, and miss the intimacy God designed for every single day. But not you, because now you know the truth. You've been handed the keys. 5 words. I trust in you. Lord, I need you. Holy Spirit, thank you. Holy Spirit, forgive me. Holy Spirit, help me to obey you. Say them when you wake up. Whisper them before you go to bed. Let them echo in the silence. Let them interrupt your chaos. Let them be the bridge between your weakness and God's unlimited strength. You want to walk in power? Speak to the one who empowers. You want peace that passes understanding? Invite the presence who breathes peace. You want transformation? Surrender to the one who makes all things new. The Holy Spirit is not far. He's not waiting for a conference, a Sunday service, or a breakthrough moment. He's waiting for your whisper. So speak today, right now, and watch what happens when heaven responds. If the Holy Spirit stirred something in you today, don't just move on. Pause, sit with it. Let these 5 words become the rhythm of your mornings, the language of your surrender, the fire behind your faith. And if even one of them pierced your heart, write it in the comments. Declare it. Let heaven and hell both hear your alignment with God. Write, I trust in you, Lord, or help me to obey you, and let your words become a weapon. And if you need prayer, drop it below. You're not alone here. This is a space for warriors, worshipers, and wounded hearts learning to walk in power. And if you're hungry for more teaching, more prayer, more truth that wakes up your spirit, stay connected. God's not done with you. And this community is here to walk with you. Be bold, be surrendered, and above all, be Spirit-led.